Okay, so starting things off, I just want to let everyone know that the starter evolutions are shiny locked. So if that is something that you're kind of excited to do not spend the entire time resetting the game. You'll never be able to get the shinies that way. Definitely just jump into the game with the Pokemon you want as fast as possible, and then just look to get the shinies through breeding. Also, I will let everyone know that any images and stuff shown in this video isn't going to be the actual images from the game. I don't want to spoil that for everyone, so you can still kind of have that excitement of seeing it for the first time. And that means I also won't be showing animations for the signature abilities. I will definitely speak about them, but it's not something I'm going to show, just to help try to keep the experience of your starter evolutions as fresh as possible. With that all being said, let's dive in and have a look at Sprigatito. So of the free starters, Sprigatito was probably always the one I liked the least. We were kind of hoping that it would turn into like a gigantic saber-toothed tiger, which is if it did, it probably would become the best one. Unfortunately, it is going to stand up, as you are going to see right now. So what we have here is Florigato. It is a mixture of flora and gato, which are the Spanish words for flower and cat. Now, you can't see it in this fan art, but it does have a yo-yo, which it uses. Normally, the yo-yo will kind of sit on the scarf, and then it'll bring it out to attack. I think it's really cool. Out of all the middle evolutions, I think Florigato is actually the best one. And for me, I'm definitely getting some Puss in Boots vibes, so it's probably why I like it a lot better than what I thought it would. But unfortunately for me, it does lose a lot of that cool appeal when it evolves into Meowscarada. So Meowscarada is a combination of Meow and Masquerada, which is Spanish for masquerade. Also, we'll take this time to apologize if I am butchering any pronunciations. It's never been my strong suit, and I am doing my best. Now, Masquerada is known to be the magician Pokemon. Now, for me, this is kind of funny because the stats reflect that it's a physical attacker and not a special attacker. When I hear the word magician, I obviously go to like RPGs with mages throwing fireballs, but it would most likely be more of like a trickster version of magician. So magician slash thief, which kind of makes the physical attacker work more if you kind of think of it in those type of vibes. So from what we can see down here, you do have the stats. It's got 76 HP, 110 attack, 70 defense, 81 special attack, 70 special defense, and a really good speed stat at 123. It doesn't have the highest attack of the three, but it does come with the hidden ability Protein, which means that when it uses a move, it will switch to that type, which can be very useful for competitive. However, Protein has been kind of nerfed in this upcoming generation. So when you switch it in, it will only do it once on switch in. So basically, if I switch in my Masquerada and use an electric attack, it's going to be electric. But then if I try and use like a fire attack, it isn't going to switch to fire. It's going to keep its electric typing. Now, its signature move is called Flower Trick. This is a grass physical attack with 70 base power. Doesn't miss and always crits. Now, out of the three signature moves, this is the only one that doesn't boost the Pokemon's stats, but the fact that it does always crit and never misses means that it can ignore defensive stat boosts of opposing Pokemon. So in a way, it still has the same type of functionality, and the animation, for me, is pretty cool. It might be a bit more basic compared to the others when you see it, but I actually really like Masquerada and where it's going. Now, I'll also just quickly show you the moves it learns by leveling up. So it does evolve at level 36 when it gets Flower Trick. And then when it gets to 38, it'll get Night Slash. It then also gets Play Rough, so it'll be able to change into Fairy, so that's pretty good as well. Now, on top of these moves that it learns by leveling up, it does have a vast move pool of moves it can learn through TM. Some of the more notable ones would be Thunder Punch. It gets access to Acrobatics. That means it can have Flying. It also has access to Brick Break and some various other fighting type moves. And along with that, it can get Giga Impact, so it can change into a normal type. Has U-turn, so it can allow itself to switch out. And obviously it gets Terra Blast like they all do. And it can even get Trailblaze, which is a new grass move that boosts your speed. So it does have a way to boost its speed. It just won't be its signature ability. So yeah, there is a few decent moves that it does get access to that it can kind of use for Protein. And a lot of decent moves that just help with its overall speed and attack set. So next up we have Fuecoco. Fuecoco was probably my middle favorite out of all the starters. We were hoping that it would turn into some type of fire fairy dragon looking thing, or even like fire poison, something like that. But it does turn out that it is going to end up being a fire ghost Pokemon. So Fuecoco evolves into Crocodile. It's still standing in this evolution, and it looks as though it gets like a sombrero with an egg on top, Personally, I think this is kind of cool. It's a very unique way to kind of evolve the Pokemon. And what they eventually do with the egg in the final evolution is kind of cool as well. So it's definitely not the way I would have ever interpreted it if I was designing this Pokemon, but I really like what they've done here. So Crocodile is a combination of crocodile and calor, which is the Spanish word for heat. So it's still keeping that fire crocodile theme going throughout its evolutionary stages. And then finally, it does evolve into Skeledirge. Now, Skeledirge is skeleton mixed with dirge. Now, dirge is kind of like a somber song that's played at funerals. This makes a lot of sense because Skeledirge is known as the singer Pokemon. Now, you might not be able to see it too well, but on its nose is the little fire phoenix bird that's hatched from the egg. And that little guy kind of explodes into life when Skeledirge uses its signature move, which is Torch Song. So Torch Song is a 80 base power fire special move that doesn't miss. It also has the benefit of boosting the user's special attack. So if Skeledirge is given the time to kind of set up, it definitely can be a very decent sweeper. As you can see here, it does have a very strong special attack stat. It's also got some decent HP, and the defenses aren't too shabby either. The only thing that might be kind of letting it down is the fact that it has a kind of slower speed stat. But all that means is that it could definitely function in a Trick Room team, or even under Tailwind, it should still be able to do some decent damage. So through leveling up, it obviously gets Torch Song at level 36 when it evolves. It will then get access to Shadow Ball at level 38, which is its first Ghost move because it is now the Ghost typing. After that, it will have access to Hyper Voice, Hex, Fire Blast, Overheat, and kind of all the signature fire abilities. So for the TM moves, I wouldn't say it has as much as a robust rotation as what Meowscarada has. However, it does have access to some fairly decent special moves in Solar Beam, Hyper Beam. It does get Earth Power, so it can take on opposing fire types, rock types. But yeah, outside of those few moves, I don't think it really has many you would want to use. So if you were kind of using it as a special sweeper, you would probably give it its Torch Song, Shadow Ball, maybe Terra Blast for whatever Terra type you're doing, and then Protect. I don't really see it kind of branching out too much like the other ones can. In terms of its hidden ability, Skeledirge gets access to Unaware. So this means it essentially ignores the stat boost of Pokemon that it's attacking, and it kind of ignores the stat boost of Pokemon that are attacking it. So this is a very good moveset to have on such a heavy hitter, because if there is a stall Pokemon that's kind of ramping up its defenses, Skeledirge doesn't really care about that, and it's just going to smash you in the face with a Shadow Ball anyway. And last of the three, we have my boy Quaxly. When I saw this duck, I fell in love. I had hopes and aberrations for a pirate duck or a conquisitor duck. Basically, I was just looking at this duck and going, okay, cool, this guy's going to be some swashbuckling fighter. It's going to look amazing, and I'm just going to ride or die with it. They went a completely different route with that. It doesn't have anything to do with pirates or exploration. Now, Quaxly is still going to be the starter I choose for my main playthrough. I just won't be as excited for it as what I could be. So when it evolves, it does evolve into Quaxwell. Of the middle evolutions, I'd probably say I like this one the least. In terms of naming, I love the name. Quaxwell is a great name. I think it's hilarious. But then, yeah, it kind of lets me down in all the other aspects. If you look at it in-game from behind, its hair does some weird goopy thing that I'm not too excited about. It also is starting to get a massive butt. Now, I have been informed by many people that apparently ducks have big butts, and that's normal. Not something I've ever noticed personally by looking at a duck. I just see a duck. But yeah, even if you look at Donald Duck, it has a big butt, and that carries on through these evolutions. And when it finally evolves, we get Quaquaval. I'm not really sure how to say this one. In terms of the naming scheme, I believe it's Quack mixed with like Carnival, because Carnival Dancers is where the inspiration comes for this design. It is a water fighting Pokemon, and it does have the best attack stat out of all of the starters. And then it basically has more balanced stats everywhere else. Speed stat is not as fast as what Meowscarada is, but it's still okay for what it can be. It also gets access to the ability Moxie, which means that every time it knocks out a Pokemon, it does raise its attack stat. Now, this is a really cool hidden ability when you take into a fact that its signature move is Aqua Step, which is an 80 base power water move that doesn't miss, and it raises the speed stat of the Pokemon that uses it. So it's going to be raising its speed constantly for using this move, and then every time it knocks out a Pokemon, it'll be raising its attack stats. So it kind of leads to this Pokemon being able to just smash through competitions if it's allowed to get on a roll. Now, in terms of the moves it gets through leveling up, it will get Aqua Step at 36. At 38, it gets access to Mega Kick. It then gets Acrobatics, Liquidation, Feather Dance, Close Combat, and a new move known as Wave Crash. Now, Wave Crash is 120 base power water move that doesn't miss. The only downside to it is you do take 1/3 recoil every time you use it. So it does do a lot of damage, but it will do a lot of damage in return. So just keep that in mind if you are trying to use this on your Quaxly. Now, in terms of TM-based moves, it does get a little bit more than what Skellydirge did. It gets access to Sword Dance, which again is really good for kind of making this a Pokemon that sets up and then goes smash people with a lot of stats. So on top of Sword Dance, it gets access to U-Turn, Substitute, and it also gets access to Ice Spinner, which is a really cool Ice-type move. It's an 80 base power move that doesn't miss, and it does kind of wipe out terrain. So if you are fighting in a battle where there is a lot of terrain set up, you can use your Quaxly's Ice Spin move to get rid of the terrain. And Ice is a very good damaging type for taking down a lot of different Pokemon. So this is actually pretty cool to have on a Pokemon that's going to be boosting its stats like a wild one. So there we go. That is all of our starter Pokemon. So Meowscarada is your fast physical attacker. Skellydirge is your slow special attacker. And then Clavicle is your strong physical attacker that has a kind of a middling speed, but has a lot of ways to kind of boost your stats and go nuts. So of all these designs, I probably think that Skellydirge is the best final design. I'm very much sold on Floragato being the best middle evolution, and Quaxly still has the best starter evolution to me because it's always going to be my boy, even if I'm not getting the pirate I so sorely wanted. But with that all out of the way, let me know in the comments below which starter you're intending to use. Has the final evolutions changed your mind, or are you still sticking with the starter you picked from the beginning? Let me know. Also, while you're down there commenting, don't forget to like if you are enjoying my videos, and also hit that subscribe button so you do get notified when new videos go out. We hit 1,000 subscribers over the last video, like in a record time. I was thinking it might take a couple of weeks to hit the subscribers we need, but you guys smashed it. So thank you guys so much. I'm super appreciative. And now the next goal is to just keep going up and up. Let's try to hit 1,500 subscribers before New Year's. That'll be my next goal. But like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!